Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some entitled parent stories, and our first story of the day is by Xylophone Player 88, entitled Mother Wants Me Banned from Football Because Her Daughter Broke My Ankle. So this happened when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I played for a local girls football/soccer team as the goalie. We played on a field not far from my house for home games. We went up against another local team in the county tournament. This team had a girl on it who I'll call N. N's mother, entitled Mother, was a known problem. She'd scream if her daughter was so much as touched and had been known to be threatening to both parents and players. N was lovely and we actually knew each other from school. There was a friendly sort of rivalry between us. About halfway through the first half, N came at the goal and we ended up both going for the ball at the same time. Her foot connected hard with my ankle and I immediately knew it was broken. N had apparently heard the break and helped me to the ground yelling for help. When I looked down, my foot was at a very strange angle. Both coaches helped me off the pitch, and beside me holding my hand, both of us crying. Other players were gathering round, but the coaches told them to step back and give me some space. My parents appeared and sat with me while my team's coach called for an ambulance. At this point, entitled Mother appears. I hear her before I see her.
"What's going on, N? Get back on the field."
N says, "Mom, I broke OP's ankle. I want to stay with her. I'll be red carded anyway." For those who don't know, usually if there's a foul, you'll get a yellow card. And 2 yellow cards cause you to be red carded and sent off. However, if a foul is particularly bad or causes serious injury, you're red carded straight away.
Red carded? Why? Because she didn't get out of the way in time?
My mom says no, because it happened. I don't think N meant for it to happen, but it still did.
Well, I think your daughter did this on purpose to make N look bad. I bet she's faking it.
Me, still crying and in too much pain for patience, if you think I can make my ankle bend like that myself, then you're stupid.
How dare you?
Turns to coach.
I want the police here too, for defamation of my daughter's character.
At this point, the referee comes over to check how I am and to let N know that, as she thought, she's red carded. N doesn't seem to care, but entitled Mother explodes.
You can't red card my daughter. Red card that little witch. In fact, ban her from the game. She's putting it on purpose. Look.
At this point, she kicks my ankle with her foot. It's not hard, but still agony because of the break. I screamed and my mom jumped up to take entitled Mother on. The other team's coach had to get between them to stop a fight. An ambulance shows up during this and the paramedics come to help me. They managed to get both N and me laughing and helped to secure my ankle so as not to cause more injury. My dad told him about what entitled Mother had done, and one of the paramedics shook her head and said, "You can't help stupid, I guess." The police also showed up while I was being sorted out. I didn't see this part but was told about it by other players later. Entitled Mother started yelling that my mom and I should be arrested for defamation. However, after being told by several witnesses what had happened, entitled Mother was arrested for assault. I was taken to the hospital in the ambulance, my mom riding with me and dad driving the family car. It turned out that I had a break in 2 places in my ankle. I have a strong suspicion that one of the breaks was the result of entitled Mother's kick, though that can't be proven. I had to wear a cast for 6 weeks and missed a week of school. N and other members of both teams came to visit me at home in the following days. Entitled Mother was cautioned and released, but was issued with a lifetime touchline ban by the team's coach. She apparently tried to show up at a couple of games, but other parents made her leave again. Thankfully, N is still lovely, and we remain friends to this day. If this happened to you and someone accidentally kicked your ankle so hard that it broke in 2 places, do you think you'd be the type of person to be able to forgive and forget like OP did so quickly here? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by The Real Krypton, entitled Family Thinks COVID-19 Doesn't Affect Children. I worked at a COVID test center for a couple of months. It was a mostly cool experience and I got a certificate I need for med school. I got a ton of stories about entitled parents/people. I live in Germany, and here, if you had contact to anybody testing positive, or if you display symptoms, you are basically forced by the health department to get tested. We got a list twice a day with the names of the people who were scheduled to get tested. On the day this story happened, the list wasn't that long and we got through it quite fast. There were 4 names left on the list and they all shared a last name. They arrived all in one car about 5 minutes before we were supposed to close up. Great. I wanted to get them through as quick as possible before my break. I took their information and asked them for ID, necessary if you get tested. And entitled mother started a mini rant about personal data, etc. Her nice kid calmed her down and I got the ID of entitled mother and entitled dad. I asked for the ID of the kids too. Entitled mother told me I wouldn't need them. I explained calmly that I would have to test all 4 of them and I have to check the ID first, as stated in the papers they had received from the health department. She looked at me in stupid disbelief and told me I wouldn't have to test the kids. I told her the health department had ordered for all 4 of them to get tested. A relative living with them had been tested positive. She told me I should let it slide. They are just kids and corona doesn't affect children, so there is no need to test them. This time I stood there in disbelief and it took me a few seconds to understand she was dead serious. I explained to her that a virus doesn't care about age, gender, or anything. Entitled dad told me he had read about this. I quote, "Stupid theory, but we should be smarter than believing the lying media." I argued with them for about 10 more minutes and they got even more angry with me and entitled mother basically screamed at me. Entitled dad told me his wildest conspiracy theories and toddler started crying due to the noise. I somehow got blamed for making toddler cry. Entitled mother shouted at me that I was incompetent and I shouldn't work here if I knew nothing about diseases. Nice kid tried to calm toddler down while her parents demanded to speak to my superior. Nice kid tried to de-escalate the whole situation, but I was done arguing with them. I was tired and just wanted lunch and a break. I called for my boss and told them they would have to stay in quarantine either way. I apparently hit one of entitled dad's triggers. He told me about him wearing these stupid masks and that he could do what they want. I couldn't force them to stay home. That his kids were young and needed to go out and have fun and especially meet their friends. The kids are the future and don't deserve to be forced into captivity. I don't remember the exact words, but entitled mother now joined in and told me about how I was violating their rights and that they only came here to make the health department shut up and that corona was just a crappy hoax. My boss is a beast of a man, 120 kilograms, muscular, 1.85 meters, and I have known him for about at least 5 years now. We met as firefighters and co-hosted different classes for the firefighters youth program. He also got mad because at this point he should already be on his way to the health department where he works. He told them the following: either they shut up and stop wasting our time, get all of them tested, and freak off, or we will send them home into a 14-day quarantine and have the police checking on them unannounced, and there would be a huge fine for any violation of quarantine protocol. They argued back and forth about what to do, and entitled dad told me they weren't gonna get tested and corona was a lie anyways. We forwarded their information to the police and they are checking on them once a day, unannounced, once a day. What a huge waste of time and resources, because some people are just stupid as freak. I know I could have handled it better, but these two were so entitled and stupid, they just were not worth our time. At lunch, we got kebabs and laughed about their stupidity. They seemed to actually believe COVID didn't affect their precious children. Also, they didn't take quarantine seriously at all and thought their children were entitled to spending their time outside and with friends. Writing this, I still can't believe the audacity and stupidity. Not a happy ending, sadly, but some people are just wasting resources and time better spent otherwise. Some people just don't seem to be the brightest. I suppose a lot of times when you don't see it directly affecting you in such a severe way, some people can find it pretty easily to ignore it or assume that it is some kind of weird hoax thing. I think one of the main things that bothers me is the people that are like, why should we be so afraid of something that'll only kill 1% of people? Well, 1% of the US population is over 3 million people. So anybody that says that is technically admitting that they're fine with over 3 million people dying. This next story is by Fred's Red. My mother threw my sister a party for my 8th birthday. This happened in 1998 when I was 8 years old and my sister was 5. From a very early age, I knew that my younger sister was the golden child and could do no wrong in our mother's eyes. Mother Dearest was abusive towards me for most of my childhood until I was 14 and her physical and mental abuse turned towards my sister as well. My parents had separated before my sister was born. They didn't mesh well together but tolerated each other for the sake of their kids. Part of the reason that my sister was mom's favorite child was her love for horse riding, which I was never interested in. And then came my 8th birthday. I was friends with our next door neighbor's kid and a few kids from school. Although I didn't have that many, I loved the friends I did have and was excited to share my birthday with them. My birthday was on a Friday, but Mom told me that she'd arranged my birthday party for the Saturday, which was fine by me. The day of my birthday party came and I got excited. At that age, I hadn't yet had my heart crushed by my mother and her blatant favoritism and abuse, but that was the year I began to hate my birthday. The party was arranged to start at 12 p.m., so I wore my favorite dress and sat outside to wait for my friends to arrive. This was the point that I realized that something wasn't right. Outside was the mother of one of my sister's friends with a Shetland pony in tow. My mother knew I wasn't interested in horses, and even if I was, this horse was too small for an 8-year-old. As more guests started to arrive, my heart broke more and more. These were my sister's friends, not mine. And for the icing on the cake, out came my 5-year-old sister in a Cinderella costume. None of these people were there for me. This was supposed to be my party, but instead it became a party for my sister. None of my friends were there. All of the birthday presents were addressed to me, but were things I didn't want. My Little Pony toys and other horse-related gifts were what I got from my mother and the people at the party. The only present I got that wasn't horse-related was from our dad. He came later in the day to wish me a happy birthday, and by that point, the other guests in the pony were gone. I can remember him asking me what was wrong, as I wouldn't come out of my room or talk to anyone. My mother acted dumb and said that she didn't know why I was upset. It wasn't until many years later that my dad found out what had happened. After that day, I didn't want a birthday party again. Even now at 30, I don't make a big deal out of my birthday. I still celebrate it, but I don't do birthday parties. My sister has changed a lot since then, and I don't hold any grudges for the things our mother did. We don't speak to our mother anymore, and our father died in 2009 when I was 19. It's tough sometimes, but me and my sister are really close, so we have each other to lean on for support. I'd be lost if it weren't for her. This is definitely a great example to show that, although a kid around the age of OP's sister is acting in such a snotty or entitled way, it's more a reflection of the parenting thrusted upon them than it really is their true nature. And I'm glad to see that OP's sister grew out of that and they were able to get really close and kind of team up against their mother's entitlement. Our next story is by Doyo X. Entitled man wouldn't leave McDonald's parking lot after me asking to leave. A bit of an introduction. I'm Dylan and I'm a McDonald's employee in the Netherlands. I'm 19 years old. I've been working there for 2.5 years. I've never had an entitled person like this one before. So for where we begin, it's the pandemic and the blah blah. We went into a strict lockdown yesterday. So we closed the parking lot with red and white ribbons and other blockades. Before we were only open for takeout. You know how there's people that'll eat in the parking lot. Well, they are so desperate that they park in the middle of the road. It's big enough that another car can pass, but that is not allowed. I was going on my break, but then the managers and I saw the cars. I was like, would you like me to go and ask them to leave before my break? The manager said, yeah, sure bro, thanks. So I went outside, but the front door is broken. I head out through the other door and walk over where the cars were parked. This is where the story begins. I walk to the third car that was parked and I'm saying, "Good afternoon, I'm sorry to bother you, but the parking lot is closed and you can't eat here." The entitled man says, "No, I'm allowed to park here." "I'm sorry, you are not. The parking lot is closed and it's private property of McDonald's." "You are open, so I'm allowed to eat here." "I'm sorry, you're really not. I can get the manager over here, but he will say the same." "Fine." I go and complete telling everyone, and then I go to the front door to get the manager. And the moment the manager stands in the doorway, the man drives away and yeets the bag, with maybe some food left in it, out the window and drives off while honking and putting the finger of love out the window. And the manager just does a thumbs up to the man. Also, the man seemed like he was in his late 40s. And then I realized that I'm more mature than the person in that car. Anyways, I gotta wrap it up here. My break is over. It's definitely disappointing to see people act like this, but it's especially disappointing to see somebody so old that they should know like 3 times over that what they're doing is not right. And our final story of the day is by Was a Goat, entitled "Dad Chases Me Around a Store for a Headset." So this happened last Friday. I had to go to an electronics store with a name similar to Goodbye to get a new headset when I spilled water on my old pair. I was looking at the available headsets and chose one. I also decided to look around and find an extra phone charger. While I was looking at the headsets, I saw a dad out of the corner of my eye with a kid who was hard to tell his age because he was wearing a mask, but maybe was like 12. I didn't think anything of it, but when I went to get a charger, he followed me. I was getting kind of nervous because I'm introverted and he looked like he was 6 foot. I'm 5'3". So I started to speed walk, which he did the same. After I got my charger, I speed walked over to the cashier and bought my stuff. When I was walking out, he confronted me and tried to take my bag with the headset. I started to pull back, but the bag ripped and dropped the box. I rushed down and picked up my headset. He tried to take it from my hand, but his kid pulled his hand back, and an employee who I think was outside for a smoke break rushed over and pulled the dad back. So yeah, I almost got stolen from over a headset. This doesn't even sound like an entitled dad, this just sounds like a thief. And in the future, if you're ever in a store like Goodbye and you do feel like you're being followed like this, it's always a good idea to try and find an employee nearby that you can either start a conversation with or be blunt and explain that you're feeling followed and that you kind of want to rely on them to help you out in the situation. More often than not, you'll probably be able to find an employee who's more than willing to help you walk out to your car. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.